here for me, and this button here for you, and this button here for the top screen. And welcome to Discussing Tabletop.
Hello.
Hey, running a bit behind schedule, but unfortunately Momo was the only one to join. Momo was late, and I was getting some other stuff done anyway. It was an excuse to get a little pre-show work done.
It's been a day.
It's been a week. I mean, like...
Oh, it really has. Technically, it's my Monday.
That's a weird thing, but I understand that. Like, you know, it's the weird parts of scheduling in the week, you know. But yes, we have some interesting topics today. I've got a few ideas for deeper discussion. I'm going to throw those together, so if you want to check the docket. They're not there yet, but I will probably throw them out a bit, you know. Once I determine the one, but why don't we dive in, since we are starting a little on the later side, and let's talk about Monsters of the Multiverse. I'm sorry, Mordekainen presents it.
Oh yeah, you gotta slap a wizard's name on too.
Yeah, this is Wizards of the Coast at its finest and worst, I have to say. I'm gonna throw that into the chat, and then I'm also do the docket for people that want to see that. So we knew that Monsters of the Multiverse, part of that packet of rules expansion that we've been talking about, was going to be coming out soon. That's what we knew. I didn't realize it was going to be as bad as it is for when the release date is. It's January now. 1, 2, 3, 4 months from now is when it's coming out on its own.
I don't understand. I really don't understand why. It's so upsettingly stupid.
It's just so way far off. You know, a month or two, I could kind of understand that, you know, separating it out, having it come out in maybe like February or even March, I could have probably excused. Like, even like, I don't think I necessarily would have excused April, but at least I would have been like less upset than May. That's so far off.
I don't understand it, but like, that's just how I am with Wizards.
Yeah, it's hard to get that energy for, well, disgust, I guess, in this case.
Hey, guess where it's already? Oh, it's not even available on D&D Beyond yet by itself.
Of course, you've got
really?
to pack it.
The fuck? Why is it? You have the book already. It's in the bundles.
But you have to rebuy the bundle to get everything and get it.
I hate it.
There's like very little to no reason why. It's like I just like it. I guess the best way to say it is it flabbergasts me. It just kind of just, you know, I look at that and I'm just like, this is just. I don't even understand it. There's money grubbing, and I kind of give that as an excuse, but like, which is bad. But even then, this doesn't even feel money grubbing. This just feels dumb.
The good thing is it doesn't technically add anything new. It's just updates, so I don't need to bother buying this book. It's just updates that I don't like because I've already seen how they're updating the stat blocks.
Yeah. I mean, like, the monster stat blocks, whatever, I can take or leave them, you know. Honestly, they're talked about
some of the species, and I just don't care. Like, I'm probably not going to use the ones in this book, because I didn't think they needed rebalancing. I'll be honest. They're, like, pretty balanced for the most part. All their races in 5e. Sure, some of them are a little bad, but, like, your race doesn't matter that much in 5th edition.
It doesn't. They remove a lot of what made it unique in older editions. Like, honestly, that's, I think, one of those things is there were always, like... But by making feats entirely optional and giving us very little of them, they've removed one of the reasons that would make a species customizable.
Like,
Because
I'll be honest, I pretty much only played elves, or elves or humans are like the two things I tend to play. Because human has always been like statistically one of the more fun because feats.
yeah.
And elf because elves are just good.
Mm-hmm.
They're cool. They get weapon proficiencies that you wouldn't get on certain classes, like longsword proficiency on a monk. That's cool.
Yeah.
And also, I just don't really care about like any of the weird stuff like tieflings. I played the tiefling before. It didn't do anything special for me. I played it in a system where that decision mattered.
Yeah. Like, I'll give a good example here of things that do it better and other ways. I was working on Skulls and Shackles, and I've only done 1 out of 5 of the Band of Razors, which is the group of mercenaries Momo's new character brought in to the game. I finished the Elf Rogue. I was looking through those. The thing is, they have options to replace the racial abilities, and one of them is like, oh, you were raised by humans. You get skill focus. You don't get this one ability in the weapon training. Because it doesn't make sense you would get that. You weren't hanging out with elves. Yes, you're just an actual elf, but you were raised by humans. You were, like, adopted because of some reason.
You're a little more human-y.
You're a little more human-y. And I'm like, wow. It wasn't an option I was going to take because, like, I was thinking of some things, you know.
Yeah.
But looking at that, it made me reflect upon... That's just a better way of doing it rather than that stuff doesn't matter anymore. They're like, hey, here's an option that if you want this interesting thing. And you could probably work with a DM to do other things like that. I could probably come up with a raised by dwarfs version of that, honestly.
It's not that hard. That's Pathfinder First Edition, for all of its flaws and complications. It does character creation in a good way, because it gives you a lot of options, and you can make an elf rogue 2 times, and they can both be so different from each other in Pathfinder. But in 5e, it's always going to be elf rogue because in 5e, everything is kind of the same. Yeah, a rogue is always a rogue.
Now, granted, like, the archetype you take can make slight bits of differences. I mean, they do some, and some of them are very different than others. But, like, just look at, like, that first level, Elf Rogue. They're going to be very much the same every time.
Well, like, I think Bard is the best example of one that changes drastically between subclasses, because it makes your inspiration do different things.
Mm-hmm. I think there's other ones like Cleric does a good job of it because it makes you have a secondary ability.
Druid's gotten pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Because they've started adding different uses for wild shape.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. It's like you can make creativity on 5th edition, and we can talk about it certainly for the classes. I just think they're going the opposite direction for their, well, they call races, as you know, species we've talked about, but the playable races, they're going like, rather than expanding, they're going insular and more generic. So it's like, why?
The decision that already didn't matter that much already feels like it matters less now.
Yes, I will agree.
Because, like, with what they want you to use, first of all, the lineages I will never allow. I think they're stupid. Everyone's just a human at that point if you use the lineages.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like I'm iffy on the points anywhere. The thing, it has its benefits, but overall I think it just generics things too much.
Yeah, and I think I've talked about a lot of the issues with 5th edition, and, like, I'm happy this is a book that has monsters, but is this, like, how many are new? How many are I
don't think any are new.
That's the thing, is, like, I haven't heard for sure.
Because the way it's worded on the Wizards of the Coast page is compiling and updating monsters that originally appeared in Volvo's Guide to monsters in Mordenkainen's Foes. So I think they might just be mashing the two bestiaries together and updating things.
Oh.
Which I don't like. Because
Yeah.
I own both of those, first off.
Yeah.
And just make new monsters. Just make a third bestiary.
I mean, like...
Or make a bestiary that has, like, everything from all your adventure paths and shit.
Make real NPCs.
Yeah, make actual NPCs. That would be a good one.
I'll give you that maybe, like, the monster spell casting to make it easier for dungeon masters, that's better for newer players. And
that is better for new dungeon masters.
I think the issue is going to be that I think it's the same as you were saying for Xanathars, is that they're going to turn something that should be an optional rule into a mandatory rule.
Yeah, I think going forward they're going to... Anything that these optional rules are just going to be the new rules.
Yeah.
Which I don't like personally, because I like the older rules, and it makes it a lot more work for me to go back to those rules.
Yeah. And, like, I get that maybe, like, just being like, it's got these spells, which are really just powers it can use a number of times. It's very easy. And, you know, yeah, a new person having something like that is really great. But I also like the depths of having, like, options or something, you know, which is just kind of what it was, in a way. And, I mean, why didn't we just... You could have probably put it somewhere in the middle that would have refined it more and still made it easier, you know? Honestly, it's one of those things that, like, I gotta harken back to, I mean, honestly, Pathfinder, because it's the one I was thinking about a bit. Spell-like abilities, you know? You could just have those.
Pathfinder does... And for all of its issues. Because Pathfinder only does have a lot of issues.
It does. I agree.
It's very blood system. It does a lot of things really well. Like, it does... The innate spellcasting, one is actually a thing. It's not really a thing in 5th edition.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels good and natural in Pathfinder. In 5th edition, the species that have innate casting, it doesn't feel like an innate casting.
Yeah. I feel like they've... I don't know. I guess it's sort of like the book itself feels already a little disappointing, and then we're getting this release date, and it's just disappointing me more.
I mean, if you don't have either of these bestiaries, I guess you can get them for cheaper now when the standalone book comes up, but if you're like me, you don't really need this book.
Yeah. I agree. And, like, again, like, how many of those books do you need in the package that you have to wait 4 months before you can get it outside of that package? You know, they're just...
The package is also really expensive.
It is so expensive for that entire thing. And I think that's one of those reasons that it works on me again. Because it's sort of like, you're asking a lot for people for this. Like, books are expensive.
The rule books for tabletop are already expensive enough.
I know. You know, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say something. It's 3 books in the rules expansion set. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I feel like I'm not getting a savings for it. In fact, I'm being charged more. 3 books are normally around 50. It's 170. What are we getting? Like a Dungeon Master screen for $20?
Yeah, it is cheaper to just buy these books individually than the bundle, which is the opposite of what a bundle is for, by the way.
You can talk later. Love you.
Where's your guys' collection?
Nowhere that you have access to it?
I need 3 dice.
Too bad. She's trying to steal dice from me. She'll lose them.
Oh, I won't.
I'll look for them later, okay? I can't help you right now because I'm on stream. But I love you, kid.
Hey,
You can use this D20.
well, you're never gonna see that D20 again.
Oh, I don't have any D6s easily accessible. I'd have to fish them out, which takes time. And since I'm on stream, I can't really do that. Sorry.
And later it won't even matter because it's for down on the phone.
Oh, so it's something you're doing with your friend on the phone. I'm sorry, I can't help you. You could have gone earlier and, like, done timing for this.
I just thought of it as a thing, so how come I done it
Okay. Sorry.
Anyways. Chat.
Anyway, chat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more expensive to buy the bundle than the book. Or it's cheaper to buy the books individually than the bundle, which isn't how bundles are supposed to work.
Yeah. No. It's so bad. It's so bad. I cannot recommend buying this for anybody. Like, that's the problem. Is like, especially because 2 of the books are a little older now, you might be able to get them for cheaper somewhere.
Yeah, you can easily get Xanathars for much cheaper.
Yeah.
It's retail, it's MSRP or whatever.
Yeah. So, like, this bundle is going to be Hal Lightning. We're talking about the Monsters of the Multiverse and the Rules expansion set because we know more stuff about both of them.
It's not coming out standalone until, what was it, May?
May it's coming out standalone.
We gotta wait till May to look at it because we're plebs who already bought our books.
Yeah. And also, the Rules expansion set we're saying is just... It's expensive. It's unnecessary.
It is expensive. It's also... doesn't really add anything because it's just a reprinting of the 2 bestiaries that already exist.
Yeah. So... And then an unnecessary update to the species list because it's like, making them generic.
Yay, generic.
Hurrah.
Eventually 5th edition is just gonna become GURPS. It's gonna happen.
Oh god.
Generic roleplay system. Let's go.
No, and there's no PDFs. They don't. PDFs. What are those things?
You think Wizards does PDFs?
PDFs. That's a lie. That's nothing that exists.
PDFs aren't real. You gotta use D&D Beyond, and then we'll update your book for you with useless information.
And also, we'll force you to buy these 3 times or something.
And then when the site inevitably goes down, when 6th edition comes out, you're gonna lose all your shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's what Wizards does now, doesn't it? It's like you get PDFs through D&D Beyond, or
well, no, they don't even come in PDFs.
Oh, that's right.
You have to use D&D Beyond.
It's so bad. They're so bad at the digital age.
That's why I like Paizo more. They actually sell fucking PDFs, and you can if you buy. I learned this recently. If you buy Pathfinder, if you buy Paizo shit on Roll20, you can download them off of Paizo's website for no extra cost. That's insane to me.
Nice. Oh, that's a good thing to learn.
You get a code, and then you can just go get them off of Paizo's site.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh man, Paizo just it wins over so much good.
Paizo does a lot of good stuff. It's a shame that people see Pathfinder and that's complicated, because Pathfinder is admittedly a little more complicated. I hope more people play. Pathfinder is very bonkers in its rules, and that's good and bad, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean that's a conversation of Pathfinder 2e, Pathfinder 1e a little bit more.
2e is at least less bonkers than 1e, because 1e is bloated as hell.
Yeah, it still suffers from a lot of 3.5. They fixed a lot, but you can only fix so much as just basically an update.
Yeah, there's...
Yeah.
Enough,
Yeah, and again, 2e I certainly have my complaints about, but I think they...
I have my complaints about every system.
That's
the thing, there's no system that's perfect. I will find something to bitch about in every single one of them.
You just have to find the one that's the least terrible.
Which currently for me is actually Pathfinder 2.
Yeah. Let's move on, because we could complain about Wizards and everything they do sometimes.
That'll be the deeper discussion again in a couple of weeks when we need to vent again.
Well, it should be, the next one should be Wizards, please do digital right.
Wizards, please stop.
Please just learn digital. Because again, they haven't learned it right on Magic, they haven't learned it right on D&D.
No, they really don't understand how to do digital releases.
Is it because of Hasbro? Can we blame Hasbro?
Honestly, it might be because of Hasbro, because the way they do it does theoretically get them more money.
Oh god. Yeah. Mm-hmm. but not goodwill. Anyway, I wasn't gonna talk about more BattleTech, but
Hey, BattleTech,
but
cool thing.
Which we did say it was a cool thing. But there's a physical book they're actually releasing.
Physical book?
It's hardcover plus PDF or PDF only.
Who does BattleTech these days?
It's Catalyst Game Labs or Catalyst Labs or whatever. The people that do Shadowrun, which, yeah, I mean, like, 5th edition and 4th edition were good, which they did. It's just they should have stopped and not gone on to 6th edition, and I feel like 6th edition was their attempt to win more of the we can make it simpler crowd of 5e, and they had to realize that Shadowrun is it's a complex system in and of itself. I mean, they're working off of something complex. You can't really, like, simplify it with, like, damaging it. You know, as much as I like to say, like, you know, if I compare 3rd edition D&D to, like, 3rd edition Shadowrun, 3rd edition D&D is actually really simple in comparison, you know.
Shadowrun is a very complicated mess.
Yeah. A good game master will fix it. I would never recommend Shadowrun as the first game you play.
No, absolutely not. Do not run Shadowrun as your first D&D game.
Or like any RPG. Like, you know, if you want something a little more complex, go Pathfinder. It can work with the right people if it's their first time, but you have to have the right people that actually maybe, like, know a little bit, or at least have someone that can help teach things. If you're a full group going into Pathfinder, I definitely recommend 50/50. You know, the way to introduce yourself to a lot of stuff. But yeah, no.
Shadowrun's a very complicated system. I've been a player in it for those, like, a 2-year game, and I still don't understand how to, like, play the game properly. I guess I only played the little robot guy class who gets the little drones.
Oh, yeah.
I understood that one enough. I don't know how to play any of the other shit.
The thing is, like, just as a rigor. Just as that side note that I've always said about Shadowrun. Shadowrun is really like 3 systems that you can run simultaneously, or you cannot. And that is really up to your game master about how much you dive into those. Like, I would talk about it with people. How much are you going to use the astral plane? That deals, like, dealing with magic, it's always complex, and it's sort of like, just as a side note for that one, dealing with magic in Shadowrun is like learning the turn order in Magic the Gathering. The turn order, there's a lot more than just the basic steps that you've seen people do, but when you learn it, you just do it.
Yeah.
There's no pauses. It's the same for Shadowrun. There's like 6 steps in a spell. Really only like 2 matter. Most of the time. Maybe a third.
Yeah, it's just a very complex system.
Yeah, it's sort of...
It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Yeah.
I love Shadowrun. I think it's just a little complicated.
Yeah, no. And I recommend 4th or 5th edition. They are the ones that fix a lot of it. 5th edition's fixes a few small problems, because 5th edition's like...
I think 4th edition is the one I played. Yeah.
I have to say, like, 5th edition's really like a 4.5 more than anything, because it's just like a kind of upgrade of the rules, but it's enough changes, I think you can call it a 5th edition.
The most I've touched 6th edition is I read some of the rule book and I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, my rule book was full of spelling mistakes.
See, that's what the thing is. Catalyst tries, but I don't like. And I'm glad that we're seeing BattleTech stuff, because I mean, like,
BattleTech's not hard, at least. BattleTech is pretty easy.
Yeah, you have a giant mech and you fight in the giant mech. Well, actually, I think it's you have 2 characters and that's it.
You
either
2 characters. You have your pilot, and your mech is technically a character.
And your pilot can do stuff, or your mech can do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In combat, you're mostly going to be the big mech.
Yep.
Because big mech's strong.
Yep, Big Mech does all your, like, combat-y stuff. And then for most situations, you're going to be, like, a little dude doing social situations.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah, if they're, like, just doing new BattleTech stuff, I'm into it. I like BattleTech and MechWarrior and all that.
Oh, but it's kind of neat here. The note, this zip file contains 2 PDFs. The first is the book itself. The second is a campaign map, which is
That's really nice.
Yeah, with the physical book as a 26 by 38 double-sized laminated poster.
Ooh, I actually might buy this.
Yeah.
I like BattleTech enough to want to run it, but that highly depends if it gets on to Roll20.
The thing about this is, like, this is definitely, like, it's sort of like, this is, like, I would say, like, not a Faerun book, but this would be, like, your Waterdeep book, or something like
it's, it's an era book.
Yeah.
It's one of the eras. I don't know specifically which era this is. It's
As
Ilk Clan era. I don't know when that specifically takes
the
place.
Clan Jade Falcon occupation zone from 3151 to mid 3152 is the time period it's supposed to take place.
Okay, I haven't looked at the BattleTech timeline in a long time.
It's complex.
Got a lot of civil wars in it.
Yeah, and you can play in any of those time zones. It's a little bit like Star Wars or Star Trek, where you can play in different time zones, time periods, and work perfectly fine. It's another one that's like that, except I guess I don't know how much it's important for a lot of.
I would recommend, if you want to do BattleTech, a good one is what the one video game is, the 3025, because it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's I believe the first Secession War.
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, you're not gonna have insane like technologically advanced mechs, because they weren't. Mechs get really, in the later ones, mechs get like insane.
Yeah.
And like bigger, but you know.
Yeah, but no. Like, as much as I was enjoying the small PDFs they were putting out, seeing them put out like an actual physical book was just like, oh, cool. You know, wow.
Yeah.
If this is their year to throw behind BattleTech, great. I honestly, because it's 6th edition Shadowrun, I can't say I don't want them putting stuff out for it, but it's also like, you know, it's 6th edition. It's sort of like...
I wonder what edition of BattleTech they're using.
Ooh. They might have put out a new one, I don't know. I'm assuming they put out at least some basic rules for a new one earlier on in the BattleTech timeline.
Core rules are... What edition are you?
There's a free BattleTech primer.
I'm just gonna look up like the.
And they have rules. They have rules as the tabletop miniatures game, as a board game, and as a role-playing game. I love that too.
They are all. It is all three.
Yeah.
Which is actually like makes it really unique because you can play it as all three.
Yeah.
Also had a really good TV series.
Oh, wasn't only one season?
It was one season, but it was really good.
That was a Saturday morning cartoon on Fox. Back when, Saturday morning cartoons were a thing. I do remember that one. That was good. I don't remember what season.
I think it's 4th edition.
Very well could be.
The last one that they did.
I can spell BattleTech RPG.
I don't know. It might be just one of the updated older editions, but I don't know because it doesn't actually say which edition it is.
Yeah, that's the tough part. I think 4th edition was kind of the last one, so it's probably 4th edition. Honestly.
It might be just the classic. It might just be classic BattleTech because that had like an anniversary edition a while back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't. I guess it would be classic because that's when Catalyst took over.
Yeah,
they released classic BattleTech.
Oh, because I think Mech Warrior was always the name of the RPG system in BattleTech.
Yeah, Mech Warrior is the RPG system, but also the Mech video game.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird.
So I think that's what they kind of did is they stopped them being separate because it was always like BattleTech's like the miniatures, Mech Warrior's the RPG. Now they're like it's just all BattleTech and there's just different versions of them.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, they're just like we're fucking making it easy. Just like just gonna make it easy. Sorry, if anybody that doesn't want it easy, we're just making it easy. So yeah, more stuff on BattleTech. That's cool. Happy to see a book and some lore and stuff. But speaking of books and lores, Onyx Path is still doing stuff for, World of Darkness, of course. We've known that for a while now. They've even been doing some stuff for Vampire 5e, but not as much because I guess, 5e's under the purview of... Is it Renegade now? I think...
It's whichever one Paradox gave it to.
I think
Paradox owns White Wolf.
And there was a lot of issues, and they gave it to, Renegade, I think,
Paradox,
to do stuff.
I'm pretty sure White Wolf is actually just not allowed to do anything anymore.
Because
they did some really... They did some bad things. Oh, boy.
I mean, I feel like they could have done the same things, but context them better to fix it. It was just a context issue.
It was really not okay with
the
context that they didn't have. And Paris we want to make money, and this hurts our already unstable PR, so no more for you.
Yeah. You can be the ideas people, but we're going to give you...
I think they're like the IP holder.
Yeah.
And then they give it out to companies.
Yeah, then other companies do publishing and work with them. Anyway, they're doing a I guess the best way to say it is it's a there was an original version of a book for Mage the Ascension. 20 years ago, apparently, was when the original came out. So there's going to be a new version of the Lore of Traditions, which so it's updated for the M20 age. It's the history practice the councils of basically traditions are like clans to vampires or tribes to werewolves. It's this is my group of mages that I'm working with. So this is like a deeper dive into those 9 groups that are the normal ones that players would play as, honestly. This doesn't get into the technocrats, which are the weird, mostly antagonists that you can still actually play, just like you can play anything in World of Darkness that's considered antagonists. If those of you that watched Legacies of Kain remember Black Spiral Dancers, those evil, corrupted werewolves. Guess what? You can play a game where you're playing Black Spiral Dancers and you're working for the Worm and trying to corrupt the world. You can do that. They have rules for that. They're you want to be the villains of a story? Here you go. But because everything's kind of nebulous, that's why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we have Lore of the Traditions. It is, again, a book that's, from 20 years ago, I think, they're saying. I can actually look up the original Lore of Traditions. Lore of Traditions book? Mage.
This is stuff I don't know about. I don't know much about World of Dark, personally.
It's for me trying to remember when these books are. I have to say it has been a very long time since I did full on doing Mage, I have to say. I did I've done Mage the Ascension before. I think this was it was technically my first World of Darkness book that I actually read some of. It wasn't the first one I played, may I know, but it was the first one I encountered, and I have played with it before, done some of the adventures before, but it's been a long time, and honestly, freaking it's a hard one to say. It's the most complex, I'd have to say, one of the most complex of the World of Darkness games. So, I mean, I like it. I kind of prefer it as a player, honestly, but I'm not going to be against running it. It's just that it's hard.
I don't really have much of an opinion on World of Darkness, honestly.
World of Darkness is one of those ones that, like, it's certainly it's heavy character driven, no matter what one you're doing. You know, Vampire has subtlety, Werewolf adds combat, Changeling adds fantasy, Hunter adds the idea of, like, well, hunting something. Wraith is about control in a way. Demon is about redemption. Mummy is about diving into secrets, and then Mage is about, I guess, in a way, the basic concept would be freedom, in a way, because it's the idea that I can do whatever the frick I want with magic. It's just that how much is the universe willing to deal with my shenanigans of the universe? Cool. Yeah, it's I compare it to a little bit to Shadowrun or something. Like, you have different spheres of magic, and you have ranks in that sphere. And just because you have low ranks in it doesn't mean you can't do something in that sphere. It just is easier with higher ranks. And there are certain things, like if you were Master of Time, if you have 5 in Time, yes, you can dig around with time a lot more than if you have 1 in Time. But, you know, you can still do crazy stuff, and it's about creativity and coming up with those things. But the problem with that creativity is the universe likes things to remain in order, and magic breaks the universe. The universe doesn't like that.
That's true.
So you have to deal with paradox, basically.
Seems interesting, but
yeah,
like
difficult, interesting system.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever play it.
One
of the things, I don't know if I would play a lot of World of Darkness stuff, because they seem really cool, but then I look at the rulebooks and I'm like,
oh god,
nah.
I don't know if they fixed that in 5th edition Vampire, just because I've only read through parts of it that I wanted to look up stuff and read through. And I didn't like those parts, you know, that people were talking to me about. And I'm like, oh, does this really work that way? And you read it and you're like, oh, it really works that way. Ew.
Yeah, like Vampire, the one you ran, that one seems fine. Werewolf seems okay. The others, I don't know about. I've read some of them.
Vampire has the issue of the book sucks. Like, all the books really, they're just so...
The books are kind of bad for the World of Darkness stuff. Like, the Werewolf book is maybe the ugliest rule book I've ever seen.
They have a lot of, like, the art style they use is an art style, but it tends to be very visceral, maybe a little too visceral at times, I think, and I think that's an issue. And then it's just like a weird, all the books are like simple looking books with colors and stuff, and I don't necessarily mind the purple outside, or the, was it red and black for that one? I have to remember.
25th edition or something.
Yeah.
20th edition.
Yeah, the W20. It's like...
Yeah, it's like... It's real ugly.
It's... They go for, like, weird aesthetics at times, and they don't need it. Like
the Vampire the Masquerade 20th is, like, just boring looking.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. There's a rule book.
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, like, a lot of them, like, just the normal, like, core books are just, like, simple color patterns, colors/patterns, and then the name.
Wrong with that.
And it's nothing wrong with that.
I'm looking at this werewolf one, and it's like someone just splattered paint all over a book.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've got the one copy of the book that has, like, a slash mark that actually is in, like, the cardboard outside of it, you know? So it's, like, kind of almost like it cut through the book or was cutting out of the book or something, and it's like, that's unnecessary. You don't need this for this book. Why do you have this in this book? But no, and then the books just themselves, they're just arranged so badly. There is method to the madness, but the problem is is it goes in like this weird two levels. There's character creation, and then rather going into details about some of those parts of character creation, in any good World of Darkness book, they just go over all those basics, giving you little excerpts, and then they go into details about everything after that. And then they throw in some chapters about lore, and then they
making a werewolf character. I didn't quite understand what I was meant to do.
Yeah, it's the issue that like you almost need like a guide to understand it. Like if you understand the basic idea of what they're doing for any of these books, you can do it pretty well. There's like, okay, here's the section that basically explains to me the basics of character creation and a lot of what these things basically do, but doesn't really go into details about these things. So then I have to go forward to the various sections based on those sections that they're talking about in the character creation, and and you know, then they get their lore shit and then some actual rules in there somewhere. You know, that old chestnut, actual rules to your system. I'm not saying that there's like there's probably worse ways to arrange a book. There's definitely better ways to arrange a book.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
I don't know. Reprintings are usually alright.
Yeah.
As long as they're like a bit of an update, I guess.
I think I'm assuming that it's kind of like an update, because it's going to definitely be going to the M20 system, 20th anniversary, and probably just fixing up a lot of stuff that's going on, and providing a lot of information, honestly. You know, good for them. They do, you know, Onyx Path does a lot of stuff on Kickstarter. It's worth it to check out their things normally. It's just it's another book. If you want to get into Mage, you probably can get the normal book with this, I'm assuming. Yeah, there's an add-on for the 20th edition PDF, at least, to your digital ones. For $10, that's actually not bad for a PDF of a core book. So, gonna say pretty good. Oh, I saw there was a add-on of a PDF of the book they're doing, but I'm like, it's probably if you get a physical only and still also want the PDF. Got you. Okay. Yeah. And they have other books that you can add in to do your thing. Anyway, so
yeah, it's a thing.
Yep, it's a thing. If you're interested in Mage, I'd definitely say, you know, something to check out. It's good stuff. Let's see, what timing are we at? 47 minutes in. You know what? We can go over this one quickly. It's Japanime Games is doing a put the link in chat there for people. Tokyo Sidekick. It's a Heroes and Sides Converse and Melons. It's its own thing, so it's not like based on anything. Japanime Games definitely has an anime style to it. It's they're doing they had a version of rules for the Besem 4th edition that basically uses the concept behind this in Besem. So it's like a generic superhero anime setting almost, that you'd say. I call it generic, but they probably have their own details added in, you know, of course. They came up with their own thing that they can then use in Besem, so you have your superhero Besem that you can have without using a specific anime and licensing the crap out of that. So, I mean, they have that. They have this, which is the main game, which is got a lot of, like, pieces to it. It's a $65 game, so it's a big old game. I think they're little like standees.
They're acrylic standees.
Yeah. So I mean, like
40 of them.
Yeah. So I mean, like it's a bunch. I mean, honestly, Japanime Games does a pretty good job on a lot of their games. Good on them for going this. And if you if you like some of those like superhero type anime, then probably this is one to like look into if you want something like that. You know, certainly I would definitely recommend. Besson books good too. I mean, I recommend 4th edition Besson all the time, but that's just me anyway. If you checked out old YouTube series that maybe one day I'll be able to bring back, maybe one day, where I would take an anime and tell you how to use it in Besson. Well, that was 3rd edition. 4th edition's out now, and honestly, there's probably slight differences, but a lot of that core works the same. It's probably more of a... I think the point values are different now. That's pretty much it. Like, they're like half or third or something. But... let's talk about an abomination of existence that, hey, we all get to enjoy now because someone... What
kind of Monopoly board is it this time?
It's not a Monopoly board. That's the good thing. It's not a Monopoly board.
Something at least.
Oh, it is something. And I will share it with you all in a second here. I was going to do something here. Oh, no. There was one more in between here. I almost forgot.
There's the Power Rangers thing.
There is a Renegade Games. We've talked a little bit about that. Renegade Games is doing 3 RPG systems, a Power Ranger, G.I. Joe, and a Transformers. This is actually our first chance to get a look at if you haven't play tested it, which I think was a very limited kind of thing and mostly on like Twitch.
It was a limited play test.
Yeah.
Oh god, coffee.
Yeah. But now, there are pre-gen character sheets you can kind of check out. That honestly, you can get a good look at what their character sheets are like and learn about them. I know so little about Power Rangers. I can't tell you if these are their own things or like
The only thing I know about Power Rangers is the one clip where the dude's power is just he just says he's Scottish. That's the only thing I know about Power Rangers.
Look,
I have no context for that clip, but he's beating someone up and he's like, "Well, what are you?" And he just throws her. It's like, "I'm Scottish."
It's like I saw that clip recently. It's like I've got this guy's got this power, that guy's got this power. What power do you have? Being Scott. It's like I'm Scottish. It's like what?
That's I think a Blue Ranger. I'm just gonna play that guy.
You're just gonna have the power of Scotland behind you.
Power of Scotland.
Look, I did that in a game and it was wonderful. I played a superhero game that was just silly. It was meant to be silly. And I was a man that had gained the powers of Scotland because I ate radioactive haggis.
Nice.
That's an origin story for you.
No.
Look, all I did was I was strong, and the silliest thing is I gained my superpowers on a class field trip, came back, and continued to work at the school I was from.
No.
And so I had a wife and kids. So I'm like this giant man now that's always wears a kilt that's completely different, from what he was. So I'm just like a superhero hanging out at home.
That's fine.
It was good. It was good. But anyway, I think I vaguely remember stuff from the first Power Rangers back when it came out.
They form a thing.
Yeah, but they kept making them and making them and making them and making them and making them. But
from the character sheet, this doesn't look complicated, which is nice.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that gives people an idea.
This character sheet it's very nice looking. I'll give it that. It's an easy to read character sheet.
Yeah,
sheet, not a character sheep.
I mean, the character sheep is a possibility, but that's besides the point.
I'll just play a sheep.
So they've seemingly a skill system that's under your 3 stats, powers, perks, and background bonds, some weapons, armor. They don't have stats for the giant robot, but does have an inventory. And wow, I've checked out Chris, which I think is the red one, and he can speak English, Spanish, and Latin. Good on him doing a triple language in high school. Man, I had trouble. I did that for a year and then went down back to 2 languages. Got to be honest,
All languages. Why Latin?
I don't know. It's all. It was. I don't know how.
That was taught at my high school. Why?
It was
when
offered
is
at
Latin
mine, too.
never going to be useful?
I think Latin stays around because of the Christianity background. You know, because,
Also, a lot of like legal speak is in Latin.
yeah, that's true. A lot of legal speak too. So there is reasoning behind it. It's not great reasoning.
What language does Yellow Ranger know? Well, Yellow Ranger knows a lot of more languages than Chris.
Oh man.
He knows American Sign Language.
Oh, dude.
Hell yeah. That's actually really useful.
Yeah, Spanish, French, English, Arabic, and American Sign Language. Wow. Man. Yellow Ranger's got it going. Why is one of them called Cricket?
Who's Cricket? Oh.
The Green Ranger, Cricket.
Green Ranger. Oh, he's a skateboard. He knows German.
He knows German and French.
Weird.
What?
What high school teaches all of these languages?
I will tell you, at least my middle school taught 4 languages. Because that's where they started for me.
Taught 3 languages. French, Spanish, and Latin.
Mine was French, Spanish, Latin, and German. It was my middle school. My high school added Japanese.
That's pretty nice.
So we had 5. Which I shout out to if you for Coil Sensei. She was really nice. I don't know if she's still working at the school district that I went to back in the day. You know, off in a different land. But she was a really nice Japanese lady that had married the most Irish man in existence. Nice. We saw pictures of her husband. He was a big Irish man, you know. It was like, more power to you to find someone like that, you know. She was really nice, though.
If you like Power Rangers, this is probably really cool.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just don't know anything about Power Rangers.
That's the honest thing.
I would be into the Transformers one. I love Transformers.
I mean, as stupid as it would be, I'd kind of go for the G.I. Joe one, too, just because
The G.I. Joe one could be really funny.
It's just the thing is, like, you can't take it seriously because they're obviously doing the old cartoon.
G.I. Joe is so stupid.
Yeah. It was that era of, like, we're still technically toy commercials, but we can't sort of be toy commercials anymore.
We have to have a story, and also technically we're propaganda, but, like, it's not very serious.
Mm-hmm. Look, I just watch the Viper episode of G.I. Joe, and you will learn everything you need to know about that series.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, the one where I will spoil it because it's ancient, where they go after this like secret agent that's coming to meet them, the Viper, and it turns out it's this guy with an accent that's called the Wiper that was really there to wipe their windows.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
They spent like millions of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, it's America for you.
And they're all like, it's the Wiper. Ah ha 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 ha.
Good old G.I. Joe.
Oh god. Yep. That was a thing that happened. Anyway, let's talk Usaopoly just for a second.
Yeah, what did Usaopoly do this time?
Oh boy. Rather than Monopoly, they brought us Yahtzee.
Alright, sure.
It's
What the
spam.
fuck? Why? Why?
That's as soon as I saw that. That's my thought pattern was, what? Why?
Who approved this, first off? Did they call up the spam company and be like, hey, I got a great idea for both our products?
We got some Yahtzee licenses we're looking to give out. Do you want to use one?
I'm just going to send this to my partner so he can die with me.
They put 2 classic products known around the world for bringing excitement to the family table into one. God, I gotta be honest. I'm not a spam person. I know there's
foul.
I know there's people that it's fans, and I know like
gross.
If you are in Hawaii, it's like they've got recipes that use it and stuff like that. More power to you. if you like it or something, you know, it's like, yeah, like Lightning suggests, it's like cup noodles. You know?
There is a cup noodle Yahtzee. I scrolled down.
Oh, fucking God. You're right, there is. I forgot. What? They've already...
Why? I don't... Oh,
Why was there cup noodles before?
I can understand cup noodles because that actually has like a stronger culture following. Because one, cup noodles actually taste good, and two, it's like a huge thing in like the Japanese market is cup noodle.
Yeah. Also, you know, because Yahtzee uses a cup, it makes more sense, you know, to have a cup that you're playing Yahtzee in to roll your dice. Like, granted, they've got a fancy cup of the spam container for spam Yahtzee, but it still doesn't... It thematically is different, you know?
Like, I don't get it. They've done it again.
They're always going to do it. There's never stopping them.
So I think the bar is at the floor. It goes lower.
Look,
The bar is so low, Satan is limboing beneath it.
Usaopoly is one of those companies that, like, for every, like, great thing they do, like, 5 of these things. And I'm like, Usaopoly, can you just please stick to the fine stuff that we know is neat and interesting and good, you know, rather than this, please? Yes, thank you. Maybe. Possibly. No? Yeah. Usaopoly. They do things. They do things should be their, like, motto.
You know,
The word motto wouldn't come to mind.
You got $15 to waste.
If you're a huge fan of spam...
If you love spam, you can buy this product. You could buy the puzzle. There's the 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle as well.
I mean, like...
I guess.
Like, at least the jigsaw puzzle, as much as, like, it's weird, I'm like, you know, whatever, it's a puzzle, you know, people like puzzles, and, you know, there are weirder puzzles out there, probably, gonna be honest. People make a lot of different puzzles, but, like, you know, Yahtzee? I guess they couldn't do Monopoly, so this is the next best thing.
Yeah, no, they'll make a spam Monopoly, don't worry.
Well, I hope they go to Cup Noodle Monopoly first. I want to play the shrimp. The freeze-dried shrimp.
I want to play the really good-looking cup noodle in Final Fantasy 15. That, like, no cup noodle ever looks as good as that one.
That's the point of it. They're like, well, you know, we could have one that looks better, but no, this is the best ever. You're gonna want this one.
I've eaten a lot of cup noodle in my life.
I usually just I have had some cup noodle. The normal ones I do are those like ramen packets, the really cheap ones. But the thing is, I've also reached the point in time where like I've never been a fan of tomato soup. But I like the idea of a soup with my grilled cheese sandwich. So for a while I was doing like a chicken noodle soup. And then I found out I could just make ramen and do ramen and one of those like ramen packs with a grilled cheese sandwich. And I don't dip it. I like them together. I don't dip a lot of like bread products and things ever. I'm a weirdo.
Fair.
Don't mind
That's
me.
fair.
So yeah.
That was not what I was expecting.
Oh, God, no. I did forget one thing I was looking at, you know, and I'm sure we can talk about it later, but I was actually going to give an interesting little shout out originally, though Usaopoly I think broke my mind, is how, like, Wizards has been doing for the Kamigawa thing is they've actually been doing little excerpts, like, that are like, here's a little historical thing about something that's happened that led from Kamigawa over the last 1,000 years to this modern age, and I'm like, that's neat that they're doing that, you know, that they're like giving little snippets of like how, you know, that old Magic set that was really fantasy got to like, you know, high technology. Also, it seems like, yes, they have a modern age, but they're basically like They're like using they power everything on magic. They have like that's what they're doing. So it is like a sci fantasy. You know, their energy supply is magical energy. You know, they're basically pulling a Kaladesh, but rather than using Aether, they're using spirit energy, which is weird. Anyway, I think I'm gonna do one of these two that I was gonna do, and I want to start with one important one. This is gonna be a two-parter for 2 weeks, I think, of topics, and maybe we'll interrupt it. You know, if there's a better topic that's more topical to go in. I'll update the docket second. DM versus player knowledge, because this is a topic that I think we've hinted on before, but I think is a good one to get into on its own. Because then the next one that I'm hoping to do is player versus character knowledge, which is another level of things. But yes, so this week I want to discuss player versus DM knowledge, because that's actually an important thing in certain circumstances to know the difference between. And I think the best example of that is our good old friend Lightning in chat.
Hi, Lightning.
And your game, Momo, that we just finished up. Because Lightning was effectively a player, but also, like, in a way, a co-DM.
Technically, yes.
Because of the situation.
For the world building stuff.
Yeah. So Lightning had a lot of knowledge that would have been DM knowledge.
Yeah, Lightning knew a lot about Kitsune Continent. Things I had to ask because I had long forgotten. Because I don't write shit down. Why would I ever do that?
It's also the matter of, like, for me, who ends up being a long-term GM/DM, you know, I might know stuff. Like, if like, honestly, like, there's certain monsters that, like, use a bunch that you generally get an idea of their abilities. Now, granted, you know, as a player, you can learn that too. But as a GM, you know, you have a lot more opportunities as a person running the game, DM/GM, to learn a lot of this stuff and get an idea of how a lot of these things work. And then you have to be able to separate that out when it comes down to you playing as a player.
Yes.
And
a good example of this is Lightning knew where some things were on the map. Because I obviously just did the lazy thing and shit we didn't explore in the other game. I was like, I could use these. No one's probably found them yet.
Mm-hmm.
Lightning knew where a lot of those were, and amusingly, no one went to those in this game either.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very funny. So those still exist, I guess.
Yeah, you know, it's a thing that happens is sometimes you don't get into various aspects of exploring and stuff like that.
Yeah. As for, like, a lot of the villainous stuff, the half dragons, Lightning actually helped me design some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lightning helped me design the villain, because Lightning had designed one villain, the big asshole who murdered a barbarian.
Yep.
So he helped me design 2 more, which worked out pretty well. And just knowing that a monster exists doesn't mean you really know much about it.
Yes, that's true too. It's the issue that, like, as a player, you have to think about what knowledge your character has, and that, or you as a player should have in general.
Yeah,
like
Lightning helped me keep stat blocks in line with within world, like, abilities and lore kind of thing. So Lightning knew about some of the stat blocks.
Yeah.
And did a very good job of ignoring those stat blocks and doing, like, the opposite thing.
Yeah, which it takes time, and I think a good example of doing that to a lesser degree also is back in the day when I was doing 4th edition for a little bit. I own a bunch of the D&D miniatures that came out during the 3.0, 3.5 time period, into 4th edition a little bit. I was buying their collectible miniature sets when they were still doing them for a while and didn't, like, screw them up. I'm looking at you, Wizards, for, you know, I mean, I guess it was never successful anyway. But anyway, so, like, because we had to have a board set up, one of the things that had to be is like, well, we should have different miniatures for all these. So, one of the things I would do is I went through these books. I didn't read anything. I specifically took out what miniatures were there. Now, granted, you're going to pick up stuff no matter what. But then it's I'm effectively a secondary GM even though I haven't really read into these. And I still have to sort of separate my knowledge out and not abuse it. I have to go, like, let people make decisions on their own in comparison to things. But I can still make decisions for my character. I just have to be careful about what I decide. And, I mean, this comes in a lot of different levels. Like, are you involved in the game? Like, Lightning being involved, me being involved. How much do you know from the world? How much do you know the setting? If you run enough of the game, you know a lot about the setting and the rules, Yeah. You're going to know more than your average player. And that can give you a leg up in certain circumstances. You got to be careful of that.
Yeah, like, a lot of, like, the world-building information that Lightning knew wouldn't have really mattered. Because, like, sure, extra bits of information about Kitsune. That's not really going to help that much because you're not really fighting Kitsune.
Yeah. It becomes very situational when that knowledge is important, and it's important to watch. And I think it's not something you're always going to get off the bat. I'm going to tell you that. Because this is a conversation specifically that's aimed towards DMs who become players, or maybe a player that's an aspiring DM and learning to DM. Because once you learn that DM side, you're bringing in extra information that...
If you're a player, you have to, like, really try to... Would my character know this? Absolutely fucking not. So I'm going to ignore it.
Yeah.
You have to really try to do that. And sometimes it's harder to do that because it can be a subconscious thing. Like, there are some monsters that my characters would know nothing about, but because I've used them so much, I just subconsciously can't ignore it.
And I think that's why the secondary conversation I want to have of player versus character knowledge is going to be very important, because it's sort of like, it's 3 levels deep, unfortunately. And your average player probably only deals with 2 of those layers, There are people that I've talked to that, probably will never run a game, honestly. They don't really have an interest, or maybe they haven't yet, maybe they want to in the future, like, or they're not thinking about it, but maybe they would if they had an opportunity, something like that. But anyway, if you are just a player, I know different things than whatever character I'm going to run.
Yeah.
The thing is, maybe in my position, and that's a thing to think about too. What we're kind of dealing with is that, like, in comparison to the person running the game, I certainly know a lot more. I have had a lot of experience. I can deal with a lot more rules, and that's where an issue can come up in DM versus player knowledge. It's a very important one, and that is something that I was actually very bad with a lot of years, but I've gotten better with is you have to be careful about rules lawyering. The thing is, like, is the thing that can be happening, and what happens with that is when you become knowledgeable in the rules, and granted, a normal player can become very knowledgeable in the rules. The chances of you just doing that anyway, well...
If you play enough D&D, you're going to know the rules. That's the thing. If you play enough of it, you're going to know the weird rules.
The thing is, behind it is the DM. And, this is the other level of knowledge itself, other than world knowledge. It's system knowledge. You have to worry about, like, especially like systems like 5e, which are flexible. There's actually, like, a good thing that's anti-rules lawyering in 5e, because it's so flexible, and your DM might just be making, this is how my world works. That might be how it works, in that circumstance. Like,
that is something I do a lot, is Lightning will bring up a rule, and I'm like, that's a stupid rule. We're not doing it.
Yeah. And 5e is a very flexible system, so it's good to avoid a lot of that stuff. And yes, they do have some basics for a bunch of different rules. You know, they still tend to be really simple, honestly. And
5e's rules are very simple, but if you actually read the DMG, which I do recommend doing, despite the fact that the DMG is actually not that useful of a book, just because it's kind of laid out really stupidly.
Yes.
Also doesn't tell you how to run a game at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a lot of really... The heavy rules get in when you get into the optional rules section, so I recommend reading that first off. But the general rules, they're very good to read. They're very simple, they're easy to remember, they're not too weird or wacky. Like... If you know the rules, right? Like, you're really good at knowing the rules. If you want to know when to bring them up, when someone doesn't know the rule.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in a game with a new player this is their first D&D game ever. So, like, we bring up the rules a lot in the game, right? Because we're trying to teach.
Yeah.
But if I was in a game with, like you, Lightning, like Wrath, I'm not gonna bring up any rules in Wrath because, like, everyone there is experienced enough, and also I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't bring up rules because if the DM misses a rule, that's not my problem.
And honestly, like, the thing I have to say about, like, certain games, you get the feeling of how a game is played. Wrath, I tend to play that a lot more loose because it's also like, this game is just goddamn cinematic most of the time, you know?
The only time I brought up a rule was in Wrath. It was active combat. I was like, is flanking a thing? And you're like, no. I'm like, okay, that works.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were using flanking in Wrath.
Yeah, no.
I don't know whatever you're using. Like, I'm barely involved in Wrath. My character sits there and watches in horror as these idiots do things.
I mean, you know, you got some excitement this session at least.
I did do things. I have done more things lately.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to, like, get it that everybody's
Otherwise, it's Carrion and Kaz fight over something stupid for 3 hours.
You know, I mean, Claude's used to it. then Claude goes, I have a genius idea. I'll use my transforming powers. I'm like, God damn it.
I have a genius idea. I'll tell this dragon that I have a half-dragon living inside of me.
in a specific universe where, like, the concept of half-dragons is probably not a normal thing.
Still my favorite plan.
You know, it's sort of like how, like, I had to be like, yes, tieflings could exist. They're not a normal thing. You know, it's that kind of thing. Is like, yes, some of these other things do exist. They're not normal, and you're bringing them up and having to deal with those issues of they're not normal.
I mean, that's the problem with modules in 5th edition. There aren't any good ones. They're all kind of bad.
I mean, you know, you can work with some of them.
You can make them good, but it takes a little bit of work.
Yeah, you know, or, like, you know, just some good storytelling sometimes. It's like, you have to work off of what you got, and it's, yeah, I definitely agree.
Back to the actual conversation. Like, I've played in a module that I've run before. I knew the outcomes of things. I just played an idiot and was like, oh, doing this is the answer. What if I just do the opposite? Because I have 8 intelligence. Yeah. And I'm a dumbass.
And, you know, when you have something that you are knowledgeable about as a person, as a player, and you're not in charge, you have to be careful about that. Like, I think, like, it becomes easier or worse in a rules-heavy system like Pathfinder or Pathfinder.
Oh, God. Every time, with the exception of, for the most part, Skulls and Shackles, there's always, like, a 10 to 20 minute debate on a rule in Pathfinder. If someone brings up a rule, people are gonna debate about it.
See, my way of doing things, at least more lately, specifically, has been to I make a Google of it, see what generally people have a consensus about.
The general consensus.
And then make a ruling on my own, honestly.
Also, like, here's the thing about Pathfinder. It's got a lot of rules. You can ignore like half of them, and the game runs perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Because a lot of rules exist, because there's a feat to get around that rule.
Yeah. I mean, like, God, there's there's a specific feat that I'm like, well, it gives you sneak attack if you're flanking, specifically for flanking and not like when they're flat-footed. I'm like, well, that's a thing, you know. There's other little things that like happen like that. There's just crazy goddamn rules all over the place, and like feats just break rules constantly.
Yeah, like if you ever want to just ignore a rule, there's feat there. Every rule has a feat that ignores it. Yeah, pretty much in Pathfinder, which is weird, but also kind of cool.
Yeah, and I mean like a quick lookup, as I said, like just that's the thing is like I have to say about Pathfinder, Google is your friend.
Oh god, yeah, I could not run a Pathfinder game without like being able to look up shit.
I can understand that, Lightning, that like
I've always had kind of a positive opinion on Pathfinder First Edition because, well, it's the first system I played. So I'm like fine with it mostly, but I can definitely understand having a negative opinion on 1E because it's a lot of stupid things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really just dumb rules.
I think it's like one of those things is like I do have a nostalgia for 1E, but I also am like, honestly at this point in time
2E does it better.
2E does it better. If I'm going to do
Pathfinder. 2E has its own issues. But
it does, and
2E is the better Pathfinder game than 1E.
And honestly,
and as painful as it is to say, because Pathfinder 1E is my favorite, just play 2E.
Yeah. I mean, like, 2E has its own stupidity, but I feel like it's just, like, it works. There's nothing wrong with the stupidity to it. It's just, like, like everything being, like, a condition I always find kind of stupid, but I'm like, whatever, it works, whatever. I mean, jeez.
It also feels like in Skulls and Shackles we are ignoring, like, a lot of
rules. We play Skulls and Shackles very hot and loose, too.
Yeah, it's a little hot and loose.
It's the honest thing.
Carrion Crown was not. Carrion Crown was a little more rules heavy.
Carrion Crown.
Also, like, we were also using the direct module.
Yeah, I'm like fucking around with a lot of stuff here to make it more interesting and cinematic and stuff. Kind of like I do with Wrath. I'm doing that a little bit with that. So like, I will tell you, Skulls and Buccaneers of Shacklesea, which is Skulls and Shackles, the thing. It's a different experience than that people will get with it. And if you're having someone that is a bit more Pathfinder heavy, you know, it's going to be more of an issue. And yeah, I will agree with you. Like, yeah, it's not that you need a doctoral degree. I think it's the fact that, like, it's one of those ones that 5E I could pick up and learn very quickly.
Yeah.
This is a one that you have to almost, like, experience and play it for a while, and you pick up all that stuff.
Yeah, Pathfinder requires hands-on experience, whereas 5th edition you can read the DMG and basically know how the game works.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, even as a player, like, you can just build a character and be ready enough to be like, well, I've got everything done that I need to be able to do, and I can just run my character like that. Boop.
The thing with Pathfinder is also some of these rules are like, it's normally this, unless it's this, and they contradict each other sometimes.
Yep.
Because it's just got a lot of rules, which is good and bad.
Yeah. And, you know...
It's a rigid system versus a flexible system.
Yep. And it's just, you know, you have to be careful that you don't want to counteract your DM, because then you're getting into a fight with your DM.
Yeah.
But I understand that there can certainly be times, because I've dealt with people like this, that they make rulings which aren't always good rulings.
I've made some shit rulings in the past. I'll admit that.
I mean, like, I not to throw anybody under a bus, but the two GMs in my old gaming group that I worked with a lot, the one that I'm in my Pathfinder 2E game with, she plays a little hot and loose with the Pathfinder 2E rules, but it's more that she doesn't really understand some of the basics and she makes rulings, but she tends to listen to some suggestions and not make terrible choices.
It's good that she listens to suggestions, at least.
I mean, like, one of the things I do complain about is that we have a botch system and we don't really have a reverse, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, she added in, like, yes, you can critically fail because there's rules for that. But also, if you roll a 1, you botch. Well, I'm like, well, 20 already gives us an automatic upgrade for criticling, but we don't get anything else other than the normal stuff.
I don't like botch rules.
Yeah.
I don't like crit fail rules. I'll be
Now,
honest.
granted, she uses it on both sides, which is really good, but it doesn't feel like it's necessary because it's like there already was something in place for being terrible, you know? And
I personally like. I don't like crit fails. I think crit fail slows the game down too much.
yeah.
Well, I'm also like, in general, this continuing back to the competition. I'm very loose with rules in 5th edition. I'll let people do things that are cool, but are technically against the rules.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always up for those. I think that's something about 5th edition. You're supposed to be cool, so you know I like.
5th edition is the rule of cool.
Yeah, that's why. Like again, that's another thing is like that's why for like things like Buccaneers, I kind of ignore like extra bonuses on ones or penalties on 1s and 20s just because it's like they happen a lot, honestly, and I just don't want to deal with that shit. But the other thing is like there was someone I haven't played with in a while, which I would always want to get back to playing with. He was very granted, I don't know if it was specifically on purpose. He would make rulings that unfortunately hurt players more than monsters a lot of times. And it was mainly because, granted, we were as players, we're doing shenanigans. And I can't deny that part of the entire thing. I mean, you know, we had Blaze in a game that a lot of the stuff happened in as an ape, because he was a druid, all the time, sailing a ship. Because he was normally a halfling, and it's hard to hold that wheel as a halfling. So you change it to a giant ape, and then you can hold the wheel very easily.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's actually really funny. I like that.
Yeah. There was also a time period because he got baleful polymorphed, but failed his fortitude save, made his will save, so he had his mind. So
no.
The thing is, he had wild spell, which means when he wild shaped, he could cast spells. Meaning he could be just a normal bunny and then wild shape into something bigger and cast spells and do all the stuff that he would be able to do again, you know? Or like, you know, turn to something that that was the funny thing about it. He'd be like, well, I'm a bunny right now, I can't really do much. Oh wait, now I'm the ape again and I can do stuff, you know, like shit like that. You know, yes, and I understand how it fucks around with the TM to get like shenanigans like that. I really understand that shenanigans fuck around. That's why, like, as shenanigan-y as something like Badger was, I still try not to go too far. It's hard to with a character that's a bit of a meme, you know.
Badger was a bit of a meme, but he was a meme in a good way.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, and that's not easy when you're going that direction. But you have to think about that too. But that's a different conversation. Yeah. That's maybe that's something to add here. Jokish characters.
I don't think I ever played a meme character outside of a one-shot, of course.
I mean, fucking Tools. I love Tools to death. That character that I played, it was a meme character. I basically had no backstory and just kept inserting random backstories that felt appropriate. Like, you know, oh, it's like, I found out from more. Is there an evil dragon god? Great! You know, and here's a backstory of, like, you know, it was a character whose parents were eaten by a dragon, and then as a young child, the dragon was like, you know what? You look like a good pet. And then, you know, grew to bond with me over, like, years of treating me like a pet for a while, so then it was, like, you know, actually, like, a caring relationship between the evil dragon and myself to a degree, but, you know, that old chestnut.
Yeah.
Look, you know, second mom was pretty good. Except she kept eating my boyfriends.
That's weird.
I mean, she didn't approve of them.
That's fair,
though. Anyway, I think that's good for that conversation for now. That's good. Yeah. Just we'll kind of hit the other row of that kind of thing, but just keep in mind the if you're going to be a DM and a player, you got to keep in mind things are different. Definitely.
Yeah, it's very different, and that's why. Hey, I don't have a boyfriend in that game. I'm dating a goblin lady. Okay, leave her alone.
I guess it's I think we can say we can a Kickstarter with the Mage one. So, tabletop, are we gonna?
We had the weekend tabletop, maybe.
We did. Did you do anything on a Sunday?
No, a game got canceled because I think the DM was sick.
Okay. I had a... I'm not going to call it finale, but it was a finale of the adventure we were doing in Pathfinder 2e. So we kind of finished up the storyline. We made peace with the Red Dragon we had saved from an evil cult, who now really hates that evil cult, so generally is on our side, even though it's evil dragon. You know?
Yeah, that's fair. Enemy of my enemy.
Yeah, you know. They did try to, like, jab a stake into its heart and sacrifice it.
That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. They actually had, like, a part of its chest open. We're pouring, like, molten gold into its chest or something. So it was in bad shape when we saved it, you know. Just saying. We managed to, like, you know, rescue it there. It's pretty happy about that, you know. It was like, they technically stole my hoard. But you know what? You can have it. You saved me. And I'm going to go murder some bitches. And I'm like, you know what? Good on you.
Fair
That's
enough.
okay. Fair enough. And we're going to be moving that game, though, to... I think we're going to try Friday evenings for that one, because our GM, they got a new job. Their work schedule at that job is just having them go later, so we're trying from 7 to 10 on Fridays now, since we would have had to start at, like, 8:30 to 10, because, like, some of the people have a hard cutoff at 10, so that's not a lot of time, so, you know. Anybody have anything on Tuesday?
Tuesday, no. I didn't have anything on Tuesday.
How about a Wednesday?
We did do something on Wednesday.
I mean, we did one thing on Wednesday. Was there another thing on Wednesday? I can't.
No, that's the only thing I did on Wednesday.
We had Buccaneers, in which you had 2 rounds of a ghost ship.
Yeah.
You know, the first one went well. It was an interesting one. The thing is that we're trying to avoid actual ship combat because it's janky as all shit and a little complex, and we just
We also don't have ship weapons.
Yeah, which
Really.
doesn't help either. So I kind of changed around, because normally you're supposed to fight the ship and then get on board. So I had a couple of, like, they had boarding attempts, and one of them I think went better than the other, but it's also, like, trying to figure out...
Oh, God, yeah.
trying to figure out thematically good things, but also things that don't murder your players is not an
I'll give
easy
you
thing.
some advice, Chad. If you're going to run Pathfinder and your party's level 4, don't do 4 shadows.
Yeah, I
Don't
should
do
have...
4 shadows.
I should have had, like, 2, maybe 1 or 2 shadows and some other stuff.
One shadows and some mooks, pretty good. 2 shadows and some mooks, that's also pretty doable.
Yeah.
But I think the session was pretty fun because I got to hit things with a scarf,
Yes.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And we did look into your tripping rules, which can be useful, but I feel like
It can be useful.
I feel like that's a little better on, like, mooks or something, you know?
Tripping is weird in Pathfinder, but it's better to do it with a weapon because you can just drop your weapon and not get knocked prone if you fuck up.
Mm-hmm. It's like... That's the only thing I have to say is, like, yes, I like combat maneuvers and how they fixed them from earlier editions to Pathfinder, but it's still, like...
I think they penalize you a little too much if you fuck up.
I tend to agree. Like, they tend to have a little bit more penalizes, and, like, if you're not trained at it, you incur attacks of opportunity, where, like...
Yeah.
I like 5th editions, like, just like, hey, I guess roll, like, in athletics or something. I guess you're doing it. I don't know.
I mean, my favorite thing did come from a combat maneuver when I had my giant gecko bull rush a man off a roof.
That was good. I mean, totally one of your players was almost drug into the sea by
Yeah, we almost lost our first mate.
Yep. That undead really wanted to drag them into the water.
Yeah.
So.
Now I get to go fight a whaler. Not on the moon, though.
No. On a ghost ship.
Yeah.
You know, so. And then,
Thursday, unfortunately, we canceled. Lynn was super tired. Cell had, I think, real life stuff. So I had 2 players, couldn't run.
Yeah, that happens. We did have Children of Wrath, in which you split the team and went inside a giant monster in 2 different areas.
Yeah.
You know, its breath weapon is currently disabled. A group Group A is apparently the people attacking it. Group B is going for its back, where like you are gonna, I guess, try to disable Phyrexian corruption. Look, honestly, like you and Claude's side of the plan, I'm not really sure how that one's going to work out. You have a plan.
Look, I'll make the plan. I get dragged along to do the plan.
You kind of were thrown into the side of the plan that I'm like, this is a little weird. Good luck on you guys. We'll figure it out.
It's just not gonna work.
And
then we're stuck there.
On the other side, at least they have sort of a plan or something. Yeah, that'll give you. You know, they're attempting to, like, you know, wake up a spirit and some bones and stuff, and you know, we'll see how that goes. I mean, you know, I will tell you, one of them technically has an affinity for necromancy for background reasons, and maybe that could help if they remember that.
Something maybe.
I mean, I don't know if Mads can remember Carrie has that, because I had that scene with a powerful necromancer. That's
Mads
like,
isn't,
you know,
Mads is not gonna remember.
She forgot she was telepathic, and she keeps forgetting that
Mads is not gonna remember what Carrion is.
Yeah, she barely remembers. Like, she's like, "Oh yeah, I have spells or something." It's normally just...
technically the character's a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many levels in wizard, but they're a wizard.
I'm actually not sure off the top of my head either. Ooh, that's a question. How many?
How many levels of wizard is Carrion? In the most functional multi-class, barbarian wizard.
I mean, you have a warlock rogue too.
That's actually pretty functional.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see here. I'm gonna load into this game and actually find out.
I got to do fighter things for once.
Yeah, no, that was cool.
I had to be a cool battle master.
Yeah. There was definitely some good combat. You fought some things that were pretty mean, but you managed to defeat them, and, you know, called it a day. Claude continues to be a really good striker and best for not in the front, apparently, you know? Because... Yeah,
Claude shouldn't be in the front. Yeah. Maybe the guy who has 82 HP should be in the front, and the guy who can have 23 AC. Just a thought.
She only has 2 levels of wizard.
Unfortunate. No cool spells for you.
No. She's a lore master wizard and an ancestral guardian barbarian. I don't remember what either of those do actually off the top.
I don't know what either of those do.
I barely remember what most subclasses
The only wizard I've played is Blade Singer.
I was thinking about it. I think I haven't played like a pure arcane class. I've played a warlock, but I don't think I've actually played a sorcerer or wizard in 5th edition.
The unfortunate nature of 5th edition that I just like bards.
Because I've done
I like bards and clerics. Bards, clerics, and fighters. Those are the 3 I play the most.
I've done barbarian, druid, cleric, bard, fighter. Technically, I was barbarian, rogue, multi-class, so I've done rogue too.
Well, that's pretty spicy.
Yeah, that was Tools. She was a barbarian rogue. So that was a kind of a weird combination that it actually worked out pretty well, as I recall. Look, I have archived all my character sheets from a bunch of these games, but the problem is, until I get that 1 month of premium, I can't actually access them and put them into something.
You can't.
You know, maybe I'll
I mean, I do play a lot of clerics as well.
I think I've done a few other...
I've played like every class at least once in 5th edition, and I know which classes I like more. Yeah,
I've certainly played a bunch. I played a monk. I'm pretty sure I did some ranger stuff.
I have a love-hate relationship with monks.
If only...
I've actually never played a rogue. No, I think about it. I've never played a rogue in 5th edition.
Rogue is fine, honestly. I can't remember if there was anything stand out about playing a rogue in 5th edition, honestly.
Sneak attacks.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. Expertise, but a lot of things with expertise, though.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually good.
Yeah. Expertise is very good, definitely. So anytime you give it, it's a great thing. I mean, I'm going to technically be playing a rogue in a Star Wars game-ish.
Yeah, you technically are going to be playing a rogue, kind of.
Yes. Well, I mean, I got a level of expertise already because they give you a first level apparently or something.
They do.
Yeah.
You're actually kind of. Star Wars 5e. Just side here. That's gonna be a game on Tuesday. We'll get to talk about eventually. It makes the players pretty strong, which I actually like because it's less work I have to do to make them feel cool.
Yeah. No.
Also, it means I can throw a bunch of powerful shit at them.
Yes.
You're stronger than the average 5th edition character.
I mean, we also do have like blaster guns.
You also have guns.
Yes. We also have guns. But that'll be a thing. And then did you do anything on Friday?
I did do things on Friday.
Ooh.
We're still at college. We had like 3 weeks of college downtime because our rogue wizard is like, I don't want to be a rogue anymore. I want to do more wizard. So, you know, Venny's becoming more wizard. Had to go to class.
Man, gotta get an education. Was just
you pick the one you gotta get an education for. I didn't do that much. Our cleric didn't do that much, and then we had to go do some combat because like the university is being attacked. Because it's weird that this keeps happening. There's like a boat full of undead. This is the second time. That's just a weird coincidence, I'm sure.
Yeah, just a weird coincidence. Just totally normal.
Yeah. And we fought some undead, and I was the only person who could hit anything. Cleric couldn't hit anything. Rogue, I hasted our blade singing wizard, and they hit like twice, and that was it. And I wasted my haste spell. Cell was so mad because Cell couldn't roll above an 11.
That's unfortunate.
It was really bad. It was cursed.
I mean, like, I've been in cursed rolls situations.
Like, I don't know what's up with me because, like, in the game I run, I rolled like 10 crits in the last session I ran, and then as soon as combat starts, I immediately roll 2 crits in this game on a Scorching Ray.
What was? Oh God, it was. I can just recall. Like, I can't remember which game it was. One of them, I was like rolling crits left. I murdered the shit out of Cell, and I wasn't even trying. You know?
You did.
I was rolling for everybody, and like I'm rolling like shit for everybody, and then like, you know, Cell, it's sort of like the 19's there. I'm like, he's like, you just keep murdering me, and I'm like, I'm not actually trying to.
This is how I feel about Lightning in my game because I keep critting Lightning's character.
It's like I wasn't even trying to like murder the shit.
We did bring my dragon aunt, and she was very excited to murder things.
Yeah.
And when we ran out of things to murder, she got really bored.
Womp womp. But yep. I think that's probably a good week to talk about, or a good point to stop it. You know, here, since we've kind of hit up everything, we did start a little late and such. So it was actually a pretty good week in tabletop,
yeah.
And I think, like, as I've said, like, I finished up a Star Wars character. I'm working on some stuff for, you know, I leveled up that Pathfinder 2e character, so I'm like 9th or 10th level now or something.
That's pretty high level.
9th, because I just got 5th level spells.
Nice.
Which it took me a while to decide. I was tempted to take Inevitable Disaster, which in 1d4 rounds.
So funny. That's such a funny. I love that spell. It's so good.
It's just like, I was so tempted for that one, but I took the gross one instead, which is it creates blisters on my enemy that I can then force to explode, and like.
That's not fun.
I don't know if I could have gotten away with the Inevitable Disaster.
That's just disgusting.
I know, but I also vomit swarms, so I mean, like.
You are a disgusting monster.
I'm a lizard man, and I prove it every day. I also took Synthesasia, so I can, like, reverse people's, like, senses.
Nice. I mostly did staff blocks, and then leveled up a character. 2 characters, technically. I had to level up the NPC Oracle that did something, so gained a level.
Nice.
He's mostly done. I have to pick a feat still. I don't know good Oracle feats.
Yeah. But, yeah, plenty to do. I was working through leveling up characters and also, like, doing stats, so I think I have, like, 7 more to work on.
I have a bunch of stat blocks I need to transfer over still.
I'm trying to make your, like, because they're your like crew you adopted, and like if you wanted to, you could actually interact and have backstory with them if you ever did want to. I'm trying to make the like named NPCs actually feel unique rather than generic second level warrior.
Generic NPC from module.
Yes. I'm trying to make it at least feel like it's slightly less generic NPC for module.
If any of my boys are done, I'm gonna have them like keep undead out of the battle between us and Weller Man.
As I said, the rogue was finished up. I got his stats done because the problem is like it's also like pirate mercenaries are hard to stat out because you want to have at least some kind of like siege weapon use of those marines.
They do need the siege proficiency.
So I'm like, since they're not 5th level and can't do the
profession siege engineer it works.
But the thing is that does work, but it doesn't give you have to actually, you also can still get the proficiency penalties. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I'm trying to specialize each of them.
Weird.
Yeah. Since the rogue is on the smarter side, I'm like, you can use catapults, and like then I can just be like since the dwarf is probably going to be more like dex based and probably not as smart. I'm gonna be like, you can probably just have ballistas or something, or maybe cannons for him. Like that sounds more appropriate for that guy. He knows how to use a cannon if you ever get one.
Good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the weapon engineer is a really great feat that you need to be 5th level to take.
Yeah, it's one I actually looked at, and then I was like, I don't know if I really need this or not.
I will probably...
I mean, my build is basically done at this point. I can take whatever goddamn feat I want now. I've already finished my build.
So it's just enhancing it, yeah.
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 Because the item I have, I'm just like, I don't need rapid reload. I can just teleport a bolt into my gun.
Yep. So, we'll call it here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for Amazing and Crazy Adventures. It was a fun one. I hope you are going to have a great rest of your Saturday. I think I'm probably off on anything today. I don't honestly know. Like, I will probably try to at least stream once more this weekend. I don't know the exact schedule. And I will throw a schedule up for what I'm planning for the week up tomorrow on Discord and Twitter. And that'll be the at least confirmed schedule. And then as I'll say, I got to throw stuff in as I figure it out throughout the week, And I have some ideas for a nice little graphic I'm going to throw together for putting that up and stuff. So I'll have this is my weekly schedule at least that I can confirm. Again, I'm going to try to keep it loose so that so I at least have something, and other stuff is going to be messed up. But check out Children of Wrath, check out Buccaneers of Shackled Sea. Join us again next week for more of this. For myself, maybe Momo, maybe some other folks. Kind of play it by ear, and then I think that's all in the schedule. And I think I was talking again. Currently, we're saying it's 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. Technically, 2 weeks and a day from now, when Tabletop Drive-In should be returning, because I'm working on some players for that. I got 2, and then one of the currently players I have has something not tomorrow, but the week after that, so that's why we're skipping that. So a lot of stuff on the agenda. And hey, by February, people might be free for stuff.
Yeah, December and January are busy times.
Mm-hmm. I get that. So, bye for now, everybody. Farewell.
Bye.